just first of all, it doesn't even work in the first place. And just like we have rights to protect, I mean, Pasamba, you always talk about our rights, freedom of speech. Those public servants also working for us, they do have rights as well. Where do you draw the line? That's the disagreement and argument that we can have. And
And
Jambaya Musa Jeng is disgraced.
Sarian, if I may
Yeah.
just come. In law, I am not a lawyer. If your negligence leads to the death of somebody, you are culpable for that person's death. If your negligence leads to the death of somebody, you are culpable for that murder. That's why they would charge you with a first degree murder or manslaughter or whatever. Here is the issue, Musa.
Let's be careful now. When
you talk about protest, that's okay. Let's head there. You talk about protest. I refused and continue to refuse to protest here. Not because I cannot, but I do not also give one Jammeh or Barrow to own the democratic space in the Gambia to the extent whereby people will not do it in there. As long as people's rights to hold protests in the Gambia are unfettered, or they can protest in the Gambia, I refuse to protest outside. That doesn't mean that I may not choose tomorrow to do it if the circumstances change. But that is me. And I encourage everybody.
But Pasamba, you are somebody for 15 years when protesting against Jammeh was not even popular. Yen Jerome Beninit with Karamba Toure and Patu Jaumane, very few people would even protest. But for the past 7 years, since we brought about change, you have not done it. It reinforced what I'm saying. There are other channels that we could exploit to speak truth to power. How come you haven't done it?
Okay, but
why didn't you think it is necessary? Your Ongabini, this United Nations General Assembly, there wasn't a one single one during time of Jammeh that demoed New York. Amut, you'll be there.
No, Mamla, the situations have changed.
Yes.
And there is a tactical reason why I don't do it.
Correct.
It's not that it's not justifiable to do it. But tactically, I don't want to do it. Because I believe that the place where protests must be held and should be held is in the Gambia.
Exactly.
Because my fear is when we start moving away from doing what we're supposed to do on the ground, we'll continue to give Barrow the opportunity to seize the ground. And very soon, the right to protest would be snuffed out of that country. But again, Musa, there is a reason when I write something, I do not normally go back to my wall. Because I believe that, and you've mentioned this, the same way that I have a right to say or do something is the same way that somebody else can see it differently. Because that is the very essence of democracy.
Correct.
So we should always learn to accept that, you know what, I am taking this position because I believe in it. That Sarian would wake up tomorrow and say, no, what you did was foolish. It would not work. And when we start to develop that democratic mind, then maybe we'll start to build the democratic Gambia that we want. But again, like I've always said for a very long time, Gambians are not always as democratic as we claim to be.
No, we're not.
You know, so we have to, it's a very balancing, it's a very difficult balancing, and nobody likes to be criticized, but we also have to accept it. The same way that we come here and say anything is the same way that Ma'am Lisa can say, you know what, yen ay waxulen dara waxi dof ngene wax rek because ngene amul fayda, which is not
always do
in a democracy. But let's agree to disagree, and let's not try to decommit from decode, because I've heard some things that are disgusting, like Ajera. You've never taken a penny of Ajera. If anything, you've protected Ajera's money. Remember the Kuchi Waje Desi. Or Barrow is paying you. What can Barrow pay you? If anything, you were the one paying Barrow, you know, when he was nakala to doing his business at Mangam or whatever. Let's move away from those nonsense and look at other issues that are criticize Musa for what he said, but because they come from the good. That's all I'm saying.
Mother, and I'm gonna let the new newlywed come in. Mother, sometimes I even question some of the things that they level against even public officials because what they get guy they were. I'm like, oh my God. Even these are the kind of crap people be putting out there for people to buy it. Once you let an organization, like such as an Alice. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, and it's but anyway, it is what it is. Hey, go ahead,
Coach. Thank you. I think before you joined in, that was the reason because like someone called me and said, "Hey, did you watch what Jobis was saying?" And I said, I'm gonna watch it right now. I'm not, but I think we owe, to the public and to us working with you guys. I've known you guys, so I mean, if someone goes out there on a public platform and it's recorded, people are sharing and they see this person every single day, and that's why they say, hey, we have to come here at least, to speak truth to power. I mean, if you disagree or someone hurts your feeling, I think it should not propel you to go on a platform and kind of spread some type of misinformation just to the got you part. I think that's very disgusting, and I think that we all speak up through. I mean, knowing the man, I know. Ajera, I mean, that's a low ball. I mean, Fatuba Barrow, and somehow associating him to Fatuba Barrow is just not who this man is. So I think before I said, don't go out there. Musa have family. He got boys, maybe grandkids soon here, but don't get out there because your feelings are a little hurt. Instead of and to be fair to him, he sent a link to him. I think as an adult, come here. We have a decision. You, as he rightly said, Musa always say, "Oh no, sorry, yesterday, man, you were very hard. You were very, very hard. You can't take this." But this is who he is. I mean, you know that. I know that. We don't. Most of the time, we don't even agree within ourselves, right? But I think the fundamental here is we can be be passionate, discuss issues that are impacting folk without being so personal and getting out there and labeling someone who he is not. He's a very honorable man. He has great character, integrity, and nothing but peace. And I learned a lot from Musa, especially when we have these debates after debate. Whenever the platform is hot as hell, he will call me and say, let's be moderate. Let's this is who he is. He said that to me all the time. He says, we can't, but look, we can't do. This is who he is. I mean, we have to respect each other. But if you keep saying I'm protesting, but you go out there and double down on your misinformation, and you think that's gonna give you an edge, I think you need to think twice, man. I think that's what it is.
No, but do make it a platform. Bañ na suñ platform bi sax when I saw that they suñ platform bi sax bu war
exactly I said where you getting that from?
I don't think the Barrow is doing a very good job with me, because believe me. But anyway, there are more important things.
We've been I don't know what kind of platform they want. I mean, do you guys want us here to kind of endorse a party and just come here and just regurgitate a party's platform? That's what you guys want?
No, Musa, I think people need to understand, sir, how this whole thing came about. We've never agreed on anything. And that has what has built and sustained this relationship. It will be early morning calls, Banka and Musa going at it like hell. Then Banka was the protest guy. Everything he did,
exactly.
What's his David Thoreau or whatever? What's his something Thoreau?
David Thoreau. And Banka used to get so mad at me.
Oh, yes.
If your own parents, if your own son was kind of prosecuted, you're like Chemical Ali. That's how he used to get that mad.
And it was always like that. In the mornings, it will be back and forth. After work, it will be back and forth. It was never an agreement. And this is why we've never had any discussion before a program and say this is what we're going to say, because we understand that we are not the same. We are different, and what we do, we appreciate those differences. We look at our situations differently. Sometimes I would say stuff, and Musa, there you go again with the red meat. I think you were very unfair to them. He would say that. You know,
I want to put
Oh,
this thing on.
I agree what you say with what you said, but I really would not have said it that way.
Disagree the way you said it. Coffee time, you don't ever send something on coffee time. And past number, you speak clearly. Like the other day, Basirundao. And we were just talking about Halifa's, press conference. And I'm like, you know what? The difference between, and we were using you, Maniko, the difference between Halifa and Pasamba. Pasamba, when he speaks clearly, you will know where he stands. He speaks very clearly and the message that he wants to put across. And sometimes, man, I will call him and I go, I don't know. I agree with where you're going, but I would have framed it a little bit differently. I would say that because we are totally two different personalities. Now, if that makes me to have a soft spot for the government or for Dr. Sise, look, but this is what I said. To bring this guy's question, Mune Musa, do you think somebody has blood on his hands? He does not. You see, we need to be very careful. Like, to words do have meaning. Like I said, I think Dr. Samate is a doctor and I think he's a good man. Now, you gotta understand that Dr. Samate, including even this government, they inherited a structural problem and they haven't done a damn thing about it to change it. Absolutely no doubt about that. But these are difficult, complex structural problems that needed to be addressed. There's a reason why women are still dying during labor. Does that, put blood on Dr. Samate's hands? I don't believe that. Do I believe that he gets up every day as Minister of Health and try to make things better? I do believe that. I really do. Now, let's disagree. Let's be critical. Let's talk about that. Maybe this guy he's incompetent and he needs to be replaced with someone else. I get that. But when you use words like that, calling somebody a murderer, calling somebody, let's say, Mr. Fall, what you're saying, this person maybe has blood on his hands. Come on now. I cannot frame it like that. Let me put it that way. I cannot honestly say Dr. Samate is anywhere close to being a murderer or having blood on his hands. I don't believe that. If you tell me Yaya Jammeh had blood on his hands, I would believe that 100% because he did. That's the difference for me. Words do have meaning, but let's have disagreements. We are always going to have different agreements. Somebody else asked about what are the other channels. I think it was someone that can be exploited. Like I said, I give an example. Last time I exploit this channel all the time. We all are on Facebook, we exploit the channel. There are a lot of FM radio stations in the Gambia that every day will speak truth to power. I tune in and I watch Talib Bensouda on Kirfatu. I tune in and I watch Alaji Usainu Dabo talking. I tune in and I watch Barrow reacting. I tune in and every day on the Standard newspaper. Gambia is at a different place. And it's not because of the government now. Remember, guys, and this is where it hurts. It's because of what we have done to bring about those fundamental changes. So I'm not going to sit here and allow people to say things as if we haven't accomplished a darn thing. That is not correct. Gambia is totally at a different place. Now, if somebody chooses to embarrass somebody, Dr. Cisse in New York, that's somehow, ñun fi America la, Gambia feed nañ fi wax. To me, that is like, come on now, Negro, please.
Well, Musa, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
By his action during COVID, Trump, do you think it would have been fair to blame him for some of the deaths that happened during that period?
Look, I wouldn't say that Trump is a murderer. I wouldn't use words like Trump has
No. I'm not saying whether he's a murderer.
I'm just saying,
yes.
Look, anytime you're a leader and something happened under your watch, you are going to be held accountable. Absolutely no doubt about that. And the way you are going to be held accountable, what did you do? Because clearly the pandemic, Trump did not create it. It happened under his watch. It could have happened under anybody else's watch. The difference is, how do you react? The guy was lying all over the place. talking about, well, no, 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 you guys are exaggerating this thing, and even sometimes hiding statistics, lying about it. That's what made it dangerous. The guy was basically politicizing the whole thing, thinking that, you
But
know what,
can I
I'm going to.
can I can I can I
No,
can
no,
I
Ara,
come?
Ara, you asked me a
No.
question. I'm just telling you
Okay.
how you hold people accountable. It's going to come down to how they handle a situation. Let's go back to Gambia with Dr. Samate when this case happened. Judge him under his watch. How did he handle it? What were
Oh,
the things that he done?
that's where I was coming.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, what has he done?
Okay,
Understand?
when
You know,
it
he
happened,
handled the situation. They
when
call
it
the task
happened,
force. They look
when it
into it.
happened,
They investigate. No, 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 man. As far as I know, the way to hold people accountable as a public official, we need to start to be very fair to people. Just like Halifa was saying the other day, when I think it was a question that Sarian asked, I believe, and Halifa
Yeah.
said, you know, you cannot judge me on what the National Assembly did. The only way you can judge me is where did I stand? How did I vote? I mean, because the moment you want to say that all the National Assembly, they are all bunch of corrupt people, I mean, come on now. You know, I'm not saying that's what Sarian said, but sometimes some of us, when we get excited, we make things like that. But it's no different from the National Assembly. We put we paint them all with the red brush. Because no one has a total influence. For example, your phone Minister of Health, Elig, people are still going to die in labor because of the structural problem that
and
we are going to inherit. What the difference is, what Pasamba is going to do about it. That's the difference. How you're going to approach it with honesty and saying this policy is wrong and this is how we're going to remedy it. That's what I'm talking about.
and here is the when the thing happened, Musa,
Right.
when the whole world knew the source of these medicines. I want you to go back. I'll look for the link and give it to you and hear Dr. Samate.
Mhm.
In fact, how he tried to pretty much excuse the
Mhm.
Indians for responsibility in this.
Mhm.
And that's when people started losing respect for him.
Mhm.
So that's the thing. So how you handle it, yes, it may not have been your responsibility to do it, but if you run a ministry, Musa, the
Right.
Ministry of Health,
Right.
and under your watch, a Syrian Maron, who is a licensed pharmacist, Dr. Samati didn't just join the system now. He's been there forever, knows the in and out of the Ministry of Health and the health system and how it works in the Gambia. But he knows that a Syrian Maron, who is a licensed pharmacist, a Gambian, is taking his license and renting it out to a Musa Jeng, who is not capable of holding a license in the Gambia, so that he will be able to import medication. And you do nothing about it, Musa?
Yeah. I mean, and
No.
that's a fair criticism that can be leveled against the system.
So if you're running a whole ministry with all the powers that you have, and you leave that intact, and that led to people importing medications that were contaminated, that killed over 70 young kids, I think people should definitely be out there and call you a murderer if they wanna call you that.
And
But
again, this I,
but again,
we'll have to agree to disagree.
of
I
course,
seriously
of
don't think
course,
that.
of
I
course.
seriously disagree with your last statement that people have every right to call you a murderer. No, no. I seriously don't believe that. And go back and, as you said, the whole system who 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 import medicine into the Gambia, because they were on on coffee time, and there were a lot of difficult now. Like you said, could they have come in and changed the system? The guy was trying to explain the difficulty having licensed pharmacies. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not an expert. Maybe we need to bring those people
No,
to
no, Musa,
explain.
I understand where you're coming from, but the reason why governments are put in place,
Yes, it's
people
to.
are made to run institutions, is to be able to make the difficulties of, because one thing that has been happening to the Gambia for so long, Musa, is we are always talking about the difficulty or living why these are the bottlenecks. No, the reason why you are hired to do a job, it's just like when Musa, you are on coffee for the people by the people here. We know it's not easy coming here and spewing your opinion. You will get pushbacks all over the place. You may get insulted, you may get labeled and all this stuff. But if your excuse is, you know what, man, we are trying, but because of the difficulty that we are facing. No, he knew the difficulties before he took that position. He was there. So the expectation is, if you have not, and Musa, you've been on record calling for transformational leadership.
Leadership. Yes, and I still
So
do.
so
I'm not
so
saying
if you are not transformational and you just go by the status quo, if something happens,
no,
then
no.
you cannot be free of it.
But I am not saying nay. Clearly, Dr. Samate or the government has demonstrated that they wanted to bring about change. 2016, what we wanted to see and what happened are totally different things. Totally. That the very transformational that we are looking for, that's not what we are getting. And that is why come 2026, we want to change that. Understand what I mean? But what I'm saying is, in as much as we are disappointed the way Dr. Samate, being the Minister of Health, this happened under his watch. Let's not get carried away with inflammatory language and sensationalism. Yohanna is neither here nor there. Calling the man and insulting his mother and calling him a murderer. I cannot agree to that. I absolutely do not, because I think the guy is a
No,
doctor.
But you
no,
see,
no.
like we were saying, Musa, the way that you have a right to come to a conclusion about a situation is the same way that people have a right to come to another conclusion. And this is
Which is
why,
okay. Which is
yes,
okay. But when
and
I
this is
disagree
why
with
we
you,
say that, you know what?
when I disagree with you, don't get carried away
No,
and lie
no,
about me.
this is why when Batambedu could not stand the insults, what did he do? He said, you know
He
what?
quit.
Let me leave you with your job and go and look for something else. If you wanna, and you know what? Let me tell you, Hamga Bankasa with all these things has always talking about, let's insult them. The thing is, Musa, huh? The issue that we have in Africa, the decadence, the backwardness that
Yes.
continues to plague our nation. Look at the WAEC exam that just happened right now, whatever it is. Musa, out of over, I think, close to 30,000 students, only 88 la la 88 ñu am grade 6. So the overwhelming majority of them would have failed, would be in the streets, hopelessness.
Yes.
So you look at that country, there is nothing that you can look at and say, you know what, is working right.
Yes.
And that's the sad thing. And Musa, our
Extremely
people
sad.
continue to die. Musa, they are leaving the source of our country and you get them saying back way. How many of them
Absolutely.
died recently? See back way.
A whole lot of them.
Shanghai, Sibopam, Shanghai, where I came from, New Joseon, Ibo Town, they counted about 20 young people who died. Bakau, the same thing. So you have all these things happening to people. But yet this government thinks that people should just come and just clap for them. You should respect us. No, respect us first by doing what you're paid to do. And maybe we'll have a beginning.
Look, we can have an entire program from Bakara Benas to talk about the incompetence of this government and why we want to see change come 2026. But to quote Oliver Salah at his press conference, he made it very clear. Somehow, somewhere along the line, us as individuals, we need to take responsibility. You vote in a government that you basically want, and that's what you are getting. Every 5 years, you are given an opportunity to vote for a government that can bring about transformational change. You refuse to do that as an individual. Instead, you want somebody to play with your ethnic sensitivity. Instead, you want somebody to play with what's in it for me. Instead, you want somebody, and then you want to turn around. Then you tankal. That's why, that's what they're doing. Basically, you and I, that's what we do. We have the opportunity to vote these people out of office, bring in people that will be able to at least confront our problem. Why being deaf? We rationalize. Let's be honest. Let's take responsibilities as well. We agree we have a bad government. I agree. The educational results say the status of the health situation in the country says it. The economic situation is as clear as day. But the question is, what do we do about it? Calling people murderers and they have blood in their hands? I'm not doing that because I want to effect change. So I'm going to engage them in a very constructive manner and be very critical because we all know Gambians knew who we are. You talk to me a certain way, I give you the finger and I move on. What is that going to do to the poor farmer? You want to bring about changes in the agricultural system? You do it in a way, yes, but I'm not saying appeasing the government. That's not what I'm saying at all. But Pasamba, we have to fine tune and do something because your everyday, like I said, I gotta go back to your Tuesdays. When something come up, you put the government on defense and you see the results. They will either walk back or they will come to try to clear the air or they will even actually change. That's how it's supposed to be.
You know what? I've seen Nana
No,
Freedom on this
no, Musa. I think I listened to you guys, and I think I agree in principle. What Coach is saying, you're in reference of transformational leadership, and leadership is about solving problems, right? So some days you come in, things are great. Some days, it's not so great, right? So, but the fundamental here is you cannot continue as a leader to adjust with the status quo, especially knowing the job that you feel fulfill and how impactful that is to the people that you serve. I mean, there are people that needs to be confronted, even though you are no drama guy, but leadership position, you have to piss them off to get things shaking. And I think just being mild, I mean, we watch, with all due respect to Dr. Samade, he went to parliament and says, I need help. During COVID, I think, all the money, I mean, he's a minister. I mean, I know he's a political appointee and all that stuff, but what are you going to do? I mean, if you think somehow the COVID money was, given during that time when people needed most, and someone within your ministry is diverting that to a personal use, what would be your first recourse? I mean, without even intervention of the National Assembly, I think I would bring order, meeting, transparency, communicate directly that first of all, you should have a rules of engagement or SOPs that someone cannot do this, and make sure you remind that person. And if it's not, you step up your game and hold those people accountable. And I think it goes both ways. How do we hold someone accountable if that person is not forcefully getting out there and shaking the status quo to put it in a better position? I mean, they had scandals. I mean, a couple of 2 months ago, the nurses at the main hospital, came forward and was like talking and saying all kind of stuff. But you just cannot be cool and collected when the status quo is going the other way. I mean, transformational leadership, I'm telling you. Colin Powell has great quotes about this. He said, he says, the day soldiers stop bringing their problems to you, either they lost confidence on the type of leadership, or they don't trust, and it all sum up to failure of leadership. So he summed this very well, and across the board, we all use this at a leadership academy, and Colin Powell is very famous in doing that, and he says, if he ain't break, don't fix it. Keep it simple. Simple, KISS. Keep it simple and stupid. That's what he calls it, right? So I think it all goes into people who needs to be confronted. And I think when I listen to Halifa too, he telegraphed. He says, basically, you voted what you getting right now. If you really honestly think that you deserve better, think about it. You have the power. The power lies in your hand to change. And I think that message is very clear. And I think you need to listen to that with an open mind. When he came over here, he said, Seriang, I think you started the conversation, but we need to ramp this up. People knew, if people, I like his answer on the 2024 Constitution. He said, I think besides what the government did, they went behind closed doors and draft what they want, not what the people want, right? He says, but there is this much conversation now. People are aware. Because first of all, I was like, okay, what is it? But after listening to it, he says, people are aware. I think it will charter a path whereby we'll have this whole conversation And hopefully, people will be energized to drive the conversation where they want. So you got what you want, but if you want the
Exactly.
status quo, if you want flooding, if you want folks to line up at the pharmacy to
Yes.
buy their own medication,
Yes.
right?